Thumper Final Stage. We liked the final stage of Thumpers, where their purpose is inverted. Now, instead of serving as a tool for safety, they act as a blocker for the player's antlion army. However, we probably should have incorporated more thorough Thumper training before this point. While it was acceptable for players to only partially understand Thumpers in the earlier coast levels, the stakes are higher now because players are also trying out Bugbait for the first time. Players who don't realize that this first Thumper prevents their antlines from moving forward may misunderstand how Bugbait works. If they throw Bugbait at soldiers in the first bunker and no antlines arrive, they might conclude that Bugbait is unreliable, or doesn't work as expected, and switch back to using their weapons instead.
Assault on Nova Prospekt. With an infinitely respawning antlion army on a coastline assaulting a fortified Combine base, it was hard not to try a Normandy-inspired level. Our initial prototype featured trenches leading up to Nova Prospekt, with lethal machine guns forcing the player and their antlions to stay within the trenches to survive. It was thrilling to have machine gun fire and leaping antlions constantly passing above the trenches. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it work within our performance budget, and ultimately had to set it aside in favor of a completely different layout. However, the mounted guns remained, as their lethality proved useful in encouraging players to rely on their antlions.
Alert. Non-standard exigent activity. Execute containment procedure as before.
Well, if it isn't this Joker. Oh wait, you're that guy. That weird dude. Number one fan.
Alert. Contact status 0 with land speed intercept. Possible anti-citizen 1 reinfection. All Nova Prospect stabilization delegates move
The
to
only
hard
people
point.
ever allowed to hate me is the girl that lets me fucking. I don't think they're even good. I'm not even. Oh well. It's okay, it's not important.
Nova Prospect stabilization force directive 2. Engage reserve. Contain exigent incursion.
I'm saying if you ain't got a pussy, you can't be a man. I've always liked the sound effects of the enemy. I feel like games don't really do that so much anymore. My boy. Bro. Physics. Yo. Oh, they can jump all the way up there? That's pretty. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Nova Prospect Yard. The combat throughout the Nova Prospect Yard was largely inspired by our early observations of antlions fighting Combine soldiers. The antlions' high mobility and melee attacks paired well with the soldiers' range lethality and vulnerability up close. Antlions look great under fire, with particle effects flying everywhere, and when they finally reach a soldier, the resulting ragdoll effect is incredibly satisfying.
Magic Wall. Like many of our combat arenas, we needed a gate of some kind to prevent players from moving on before they finished this fight. Unfortunately, we were out of time and had to move on to the train station, so we ended up with this bit of magical bullshit. A wall that just explodes after the second gunship is defeated, revealing the way forward. We reassured ourselves that most players wouldn't notice, as they'd be busy fighting the gunships, and our playtesting had shown that generally they all finished the fight before they reached this point. With enough explosions throughout the arena, the destroyed, burning wall felt pretty natural, so we threw in a couple of simple gas puzzles on the other side to justify it. But no, we're not exactly proud of it.
This is a puzzle?
The player has just completed 2 combat-heavy levels, so we wanted to slow things down once they got inside. These early levels were designed as a pacing change, allowing players to explore the layout of Nova Prospect's interiors. Along the way, we began to introduce the turret gameplay, first as an enemy to the player, and later as a tool they could use. Much of this level was built by reusing prototypes and art spaces created earlier in the project, when we were focused on shaping the look of Nova Prospect.
Turrets. Turrets were a useful design tool when the player had bug bait, as they could completely prevent antlions from approaching them head-on. This allowed us to create setups where the player couldn't just throw bug bait to proceed. They needed to circle around and clear the turrets so their antlions could follow. It didn't hurt that watching antlions get mowed down by turret fire was a great visual too.
Nova Prospect process. Like Ravenholm, Nova Prospect was initially designed with significantly different gameplay than what ultimately shipped. The first version focused on player versus Combine soldier combat, with no involvement of antlions. Unlike other areas of the game where gameplay and art evolved together, Nova Prospect received a large art push early on. This produced a set of reusable, polished sections of level geometry with art already applied. Assembling Nova Prospect from these pieces worked well, as the prison's layout was naturally repetitive. And then later, when we returned with antlions and bug bait, we had to repurpose the geometry to fit the new gameplay.
Reacquired Zone Nova Prospect. Ground units deprioritize oxygen containment. Hold for override code. Prohibit external contact.
Allied antlion.
Having an endlessly respawning antlion army attacking turrets and soldiers meant we had to spend time figuring out the player's role in Nova Prospect combat. The player had already faced plenty of Combine soldiers, so we decided to make combat here feel more like a puzzle and a spectacle instead of a combat challenge. With that in mind, we created setups that remained in a steady state until the player intervened. By directly killing enemies, the player could tip the balance in favor of the antlions, but we wanted to make bug bait usage especially rewarding. In many scenarios, when the player threw bug bait onto enemies, we activated additional antlion spawners, unleashing a rapid rush of new antlions into the fight. The resulting carnage was the reward that made bug bait satisfying to use.
Ragdoll Vortigaunt. There's a lot of pain to see in this dead Vortigaunt, pain of our level designers. At the time, our development tools didn't allow us to directly pose a ragdoll, which is to say, when an NPC dies and it systemically ragdolls to the ground, we didn't have any control over what pose it ended up in. If we'd had some animator time, they could have given us a single frame animation and roughly the pose we wanted, but we were late and our small animation team was already overloaded. So a level designer positioned the Vortigaunt above the chair, pulled it to die as the level loaded, and waited to see what pose the ragdoll settled into. Then the designer moved the Vortigaunt slightly and tried again. We can't remember exactly how many attempts it took, but it was way, way more than you'd think.
Laser mines. We really enjoyed bringing these laser trip mines into Nova Prospect. They were a weapon from Half-Life 1 we hadn't managed to include in Half-Life 2, but at least they found a place as a puzzle element. We liked how they served as a kind of personal morality test when the player had an antlion army. Some players immediately threw bug bait past the trip mines, setting antlion bodies at the problem, while others had their little buddies back until they'd safely removed the trip mines with other tools. We didn't judge.
Contact lost. Deployed. Reinforced. Intercepted. In central block C4. Contact lost. Block C2. Deployed.
E2 Prison 04. Throughout development, our artists created small vertical slices of environments, which we called art zoos. These zoos laid out how to use textures and props to create gameplay spaces that achieved our visual goals. However, when building the prison's gameplay track, the repetitive layout allowed us to use the art more directly. This map was initially built as the primary art zoo for Nova Prospect, but after being used to test various gameplay prototypes, including those that eventually led to bug bait, it became part of the actual level architecture.
The capture of Eli Vance is an event of major significance, no mistake. And while it's true that it's at almost any time in the last several years, unexpected events resistance members that Dr. Vance's capture coincided with the act of giving shots.
Contact lost in Block D2. Deploy.
D2 Prison 04. Throughout development, our artists created small vertical slices of environments, which we called art zoos. These zoos laid out how to use textures and props to create gameplay spaces that achieved our visual goals. However, when building the prison's gameplay track, the repetitive layout allowed us to use the art more directly. D2 Prison 04. Throughout development, our artists created small vertical slices of environments, which we called art zoos. These zoos laid out how to use textures and props to create gameplay spaces that achieved our visual goals. However, when building the prison's gameplay track, the repetitive layout allowed us to use the art more directly. This map was initially built as the primary art zoo for Nova Prospekt, but after being used to test various gameplay prototypes, including those that eventually led to Bugbait, it became part of the actual level architecture. D2 Prison 04. Throughout development, our artists created small vertical slices of environments, which we called art zoos. These zoos laid out how to use textures and props to create gameplay spaces that achieved our visual goals. However, when building the prison's gameplay track, the repetitive layout allowed us to use the art more directly. This map was initially built as the primary art zoo for Nova Prospekt, but after being used to test various gameplay prototypes, including those that eventually led to Bugbait, it became part of the actual level architecture.
Oh, it was annoying.
D2 Prison 05 start. With the player able to move a large number of objects, we often ran into challenges, especially given the limitations of 2003's CPUs. One limitation was that our AI navigation system wasn't aware of dynamic physics objects, like these metal beds. While our NPC movement system could detect and avoid physics objects while moving, they were essentially invisible during navigation queries for strategic planning before movement. This was primarily due to performance limitations. We couldn't afford anything more complex. We also faced design challenges without clear solutions, like how a soldier should respond if a player completely blocked a corridor with large physics objects. To address this, we gave NPCs additional strength to push physics objects around. We then mitigated the issue through level design, widening corridors and ensuring enough empty space to handle props landing anywhere within them. This setup is a high-risk one. The combination of soldiers hiding behind beds and antlions charging for melee attacks creates a good chance of awkward interactions between the NPC movement system.
Laundry. By the time the player reaches this level, known as Laundry, we're confident they're comfortable using Bugbait to solve combat scenarios. So, we wanted to raise the stakes a bit by creating a scenario that encourages the player to get even more involved, combining Bugbait with their full set of weapons.
Kitchen. It's a well-known custom among game developers that all video game kitchens must feature a gas explosion.
One-way drop. Players never know what's ahead of them, but they're familiar with what's behind them, so it's common for them to retreat to familiar ground when they encounter an enemy. If we've built an arena where we want the player to engage, especially for an enemy with specific geometry requirements like the Antlion Guard, we need a way to prevent that retreat. A common solution is to require the player to enter the arena through a one-way drop, something you've likely noticed a few times already.
Which way?
Alex's toolkit. Alex's multi-tool is incredibly useful for letting us use her as a key. Often we needed to keep the player from moving forward until we were ready, and her multi-tool allowed her to deliver dialogue while unlocking the way ahead. We probably relied on it a bit too much, but it was hard to resist. There was always a trade-off. Using Alex to gate a room instead of creating a custom solution saved time that we could spend on other parts of the game, often more critical ones.
Alex as companion. This section became an unintentional prototype for what Episode 1 would eventually feature, Alex as a companion, moving smoothly along a path that blends dynamic combat with scripted choreography. We didn't yet have a clear model for how she would fit alongside the player in these scenarios, but even this brief section taught us a lot, despite not having enough time to iterate on it.
Get ready.
All right, over here. Security system. Now to find my father. Oh my God. These poor people. There. All right, I think I can bring him in. There! He's on the way. Let's go meet him.
Here, let me get that.
Ha! Done. Follow me. Come on. He should be in here. Let me just get this open.
Eli in pod choreography. We wrote and recorded dialogue for the scene while still building out Nova Prospect. At that stage, we knew Alex and Gordon would teleport out of the prison, but none of those specifics had been worked out, so the dialogue needed to be broad enough to fit whatever we ultimately built. This led us to focus less on the player's actions and more on Alex's vulnerability and her connection to her father. We hoped the emotion would carry the scene more than the narrative itself. Ultimately, we're aiming for the player to care about these characters and want to prioritize what's important to Alex.
We're here to get you out, Dad.
Never mind me. Save yourselves.
No, we're not leaving you. I think I can recalibrate the Combine portal to get us out of here.
But where will you go?
I talked to Dr. Kleiner. His portal was almost working again. If he's managed to repair it, we'll end up there. If he hasn't, well, we couldn't be any worse off.
It's not worth the risk, Alex. I can't lose you. Get out while you can.
We're not leaving here without you. That's final.
We can't leave Judith here either.
Don't worry, Dad. We'll find her. For now, I'm going to send you to the teleport chamber. I'm not saying goodbye, Dad. We'll meet you there.
I know you will. I'll see you there, baby.
Let's get out of here. All right. Over here. I'm gonna head back to the security station and try to patch into your suit radio. Wait till you hear from me. Hey, take care of yourself. Hey, it worked. Let's see what I can do to clear the way for you. Keep an eye out for Mossman. I'll get my dad through the prison as far as I can, then I'll catch up with you. Hang on, I'll see if I can figure out how to get that gate open. Okay, got it. I'll have this open in a jiffy. Damn, it's jammed. Okay, I've got an idea. Head back to that office. According to the schematics, there should be a vent behind those shelves.
Vent. You probably know this, but if there's a vent, there has to be a head crab in it. We don't make these rules. They, like the vents themselves, come straight from the top.
I'll start working on this gate. Okay. Uh-oh, look at the
Look targets. One of the key tools in our design toolkit is the look target, an invisible point in space that activates when the player looks at it. Designers can specify how accurately the player has to look at it, the duration of the look, and other conditions. Once activated, the look target triggers various events in the game. For example, Alex might wait for the player to look at her before delivering a line of dialogue. A spectacle might begin only when it's in view, or a Combine dropship might fly over when the player is looking in its general direction. Once we implemented look targets, designers found endless ways to use them to make gameplay feel more reliable for players, especially since some move at very different speeds or in difficult to predict ways.
Grenade puzzle. This small puzzle often caused players to get stuck during playtests because the unlimited grenade box was placed a bit behind them on their path. By this point in the game, players have fully learned to associate unlimited ammo boxes with puzzle solutions. So if a grenade box were here, they'd immediately know they needed a grenade to solve it. We wanted them to have to think a little first. Eventually, we added a subtle hint by making grenades visible on the desk through a window, just to remind players they're available.
Whatever.
You're coming up to another control room.
Mossman's betrayal. Our original plan for Judith Mossman's arc was for her to betray the player around this point. But by the time we reached the scene, having developed other parts of the game, we felt she was more likely just trying to protect Eli. We envisioned her reconsidering, realizing she couldn't actually betray Gordon. We had ideas to clarify this shift later, but ultimately we never finished her arc. We liked the ambiguity in Mossman, but players didn't seem to. They almost universally hated her. That might be a success, though. We worked hard to build the player's affinity for Alex, and Alex wasn't exactly a fan of Judith either.
Viral interface bypass detected. Contact core programming detected.
I can't shut down the scans from here. I'm going to have to catch up with you to get access to them. I'm picking up a lot of incoming soldiers. Hold the fort till I get there.
That's it? Cozy. Oh, almost made it through. Yeah, this turret is fucking nuts. Not the most exciting scandal, is it? Oh.
Be there in a second, Gordon.
Oh, I was about to shoot.
Sorry it took me so long. Glad to see you're okay. Let's see if we can find Mossman. It looks like this station might give me better
I think I
access.
put on some armor.
There she is. Wait a minute. How'd she...
It's from your area.
I'm not calling about that. What's she up to? You promised you weren't going to touch Eli. Oh my
The
god.
soldiers were a bit overzealous, I admit, but he was too tempting a prize to simply turn loose. Especially in the absence of Gordon Freeman.
You would have had Freeman if you'd been patient and just waited for my signal.
We weren't entirely sure you were ever going to get around to that. Human loyalties being what they are.
Dr. As I have stated before,
You have to let Eli come around on his own.
I
You
have
can't-
known Dr. Vance far longer than you, my dear. I'm afraid your feelings for him may have blinded you.
Feelings? This has nothing to do with feelings. It's a simple truth that when Eli believes
This
our...
is not open to debate, Dr. Mossman.
Doctor, please.
So sorry, Judith. I'm all out of time.
Damn her! I don't believe this! Come on, Gordon. Now we've really got to hurry. Go on ahead. I'll disrupt the next level of security and catch up with you when I can.
Turret training exit. This pile of trash, along with the cluttered descent down the stairs, is designed to discourage players from bringing a turret with them. While it wouldn't break anything if they did, we wanted to make it less likely. Making it inconvenient to keep the turret isn't an ideal design strategy, but it was better than nothing. Many playtesters eventually gave up and tossed the turret aside once they felt the game was trying to tell them something.
Final Turret Arena. When building the arc of a gameplay element, like allied turret usage, we often build a prototype that represents the arc's endpoint first. We iterate on that prototype until the playtests show that it works. Then we work backward, adding preceding scenarios to introduce the element and build player skill. This approach ensures the final arc is engaging before we invest substantial time. It also means that, by the time we create training scenarios, we've observed enough playtests to know which skills need guidance and which players will grasp naturally. The final turret scenario was our goal, emphasizing the player's defense against enemies from multiple directions, requiring dynamic turret placement and recovery.
Allied turrets balancing. Balancing this fight around the allied turrets was challenging. The turrets are the novel element here, so if players ignore them, the gameplay feels redundant, because so much of it is similar to what's come before. We wanted to require turret usage and reward strategic placement, but it was highly binary. Perfect placement made a fight easy, while poor placement made it very difficult. Tuning and custom soldier AI logic helped. Soldiers became better at toppling turrets by throwing grenades or flanking to knock them down. These changes made the fight less about a perfect setup and more about actively maintaining turrets, as any setup will be disrupted at some point. Playtests vary wildly, with some players finding it too hard and others calling it their favorite fight. Running out of time, we ultimately made it a bit easier and shipped it, though we were unsatisfied with the final balance.
Here they come. More soldiers. More soldiers are coming, Gordon. We must have hit a motherload of soldiers. They're coming in from everywhere.
Sorry to take so long, Gordon. Looks like you could have used some help. I won't leave you again, though. Now let's track down Mossman.
Warning. Surveillance
Come on.
and detection systems inactive. Remaining stabilization measures. Report containment status, please.
Sorry, Gordon.
Flares. This section is a nice counterpoint to the previous turret segment in terms of production and cost and iteration. Built very late, it came together quickly as the AI for Alex and the Combine Soldier was already mature. We liked the darkness and flares and filed it away as something to explore further. Later, we revisited it when planning the dark sections in Episode 1.
Attention ground unit. Mission failure will result in permanent off-world assignment. Code reminder.
Great, another security
Sacrifice.
station.
Coagulate. Sound.
Ha. Found her. Ha! Got you now. Uh-oh. Well, come on, Gordon. We don't want to keep her waiting.
Mossman. Reuniting the player and Alex with Mossman after the betrayal scene was tricky. As many players felt, they should shoot Mossman on sight. We couldn't allow this, as we didn't have time to develop alternate story branches. However, we also didn't want to highlight that we were preventing this choice, so we aimed to reduce the likelihood of players trying it. The bulletproof glass here buys time for dialogue between Alex and Mossman, during which it becomes clear that Alex doesn't think shooting Mossman is the right thing to do.
What? You've been a spy for the Combine the whole time.
What are you talking about?
Damn it! Move back, Mossman. We're coming in.
Alex, whatever you may think, I assure you, I want to protect your...
Shut up, and you're glad you're still some use to us. We're going to reconfigure this teleport and get the hell out of here.
You see, we're working to the same end. I've already reprogrammed the modulator to emulate a Zen relay.
That's my father's work you stole.
It's my work, too. And I had to prove to Dr. Breen that your father would be the most valuable member of any research effort going forward.
Enough of your bullshit! Look, Gordon, there's my dad. I'm going to bring him in.
You found Eli?
No thanks to you. Just enter the coordinates for Dr. Kleiner's lab and let's get moving.
But we need access to the teleport platform and we're locked out.
I'll take care of that. Let's get going.
Mossman and Eli. This choreo scene required significant iteration. We wanted to deliver a plot twist in the middle of the scene while keeping player control unrestricted. It required a delicate balance to make that twist clear, yet still make sure that it was uninterruptible. If players followed Alex to the console, they needed to understand what was happening when they turned around. If they stayed back and watched Mossman, they needed to understand what was happening without feeling it was something that they should try to prevent. It required extensive tuning and playtesting to get the timing right, but ultimately, we employed a combination of distraction, delivering the crucial moment quickly, and then finally delivering an explanation after the event.
I see they set you free.
Not exactly.
Eli! I was so worried about you.
The coordinates, Dr. Mossman.
So, this is the Combine. It's smaller than I imagined.
Hurry up, Mossman! Dr. Kleiner!
Yes, Alex. Where are you?
We're in Nova Prospect, and we're running the Zen emulation for the first time. Are you ready for us?
Ready, willing, and fully enabled.
Good. We'll send my dad through first. He's in position for... What's that? Hold on, gotta bring this back down. No, stop! What are you doing?
I'm sorry, Alex. It's the only
No! Get back
What's
here!
going on,
Dad!
Alex? Jonas! What's happening?
Dr. Kleiner, you have to stop them!
Stop who, my dear?
Oh my god! What coordinates are these? Where the hell did she take him? No. Cover me, Gordon. I've got to reset the portal. Gordon, use the turrets. Get some turrets set up.
This game is definitely outdated in some ways. Some of the designs are pretty boring. Very simplistic. Sort of very
Okay, Doc, we're locked on.
I await your arrival with great anticipation.
Come on, Gordon. Get in. Hold on. My God, we made it.
Hey, we're back
But where's Dr. Kleiner?
Back in City 17.
Dr. Kleiner, let us out!
Alex? Gordon? My God, how did you get here? And when?
What's wrong?
My dear, I had given up hope of ever seeing you again.
I was afraid we might not make it either. I think the teleport exploded just as we were porting out.
Indeed, it did. And the repercussions were felt far and wide, but that was over a week ago.
What do you mean? Gordon and I were just there a minute ago.
Fascinating. We seem to have developed a very slow teleport. This suggests an entirely new line of investigation.
A week? Then what have we missed?
A great deal, my dear. The blow you struck at Nova Prospect was taken as a signal to begin the uprising.
But what about my father?
Well, that is most troubling. According to the Vortigaunts, he is a prisoner at the Citadel.
We've got to get my father out.
Barney has been leading a push with that very aim in mind. And another of your friends arrived several days ago.
Doc, you made it! Good boy.
So there, you see? It's not all hopeless.
I wish I shared your optimism, Doctor.
Doc, come in. Are you there? Hey, Doc, are you there?
Yes, Barney, and I'm no longer alone. Alex and Gordon have just arrived.
Well, man, that's good news. I almost gave you guys up for lost. We're planning to set up a staging area for attacking the Citadel.
Gordon and Doc can head your way. I want to get Dr. Kleiner somewhere safer. Then I'll meet up with you.
I'll take all the help I can get. Aw, crap! Incoming! Go on, get going!
Okay, Gordon, you heard him. I'll catch up with you as soon as I get Dr. Kleiner settled.
Just a minute. I can't leave without Lamar.
Oh, no.
Where did she get to?
Go on, Gordon. I'll take care of this. Gordon, take care of yourself out there. Dr. Kleiner, there's really no time.
Dog combat. Dog is a really fun character, and we were always looking for ways to include him in combat alongside the player. However, getting the right scale of combat for him, meaning the appropriate environment, new enemy AI, and potentially even new enemies, quickly fell beyond the project's scope. To create a combat scenario that did justice to Dog and could stand up against the rest of the game, it almost felt like we'd be building a new game inside of the game. We knew he couldn't just run over to a soldier and throw a punch. He'd feel less impressive, without any sense of awe. He needed bigger threats to match his scale, along with interesting ways to interact with him. In the end, we chose to create a large choreographed scene, delivering on the cinematic goals for Dog in combat without incorporating extensive gameplay design.
citizen squads. Our early tests of Combine versus Citizen street fights revealed an issue. Without boundaries, combat AI could drift significantly away from the player. Soldiers might retreat to reload and take cover, and Citizen AI would give chase. We needed a way to align the citizens' actions more closely with the player's goals, keeping them aware of where the player was heading and which enemies the player wanted to engage. This led to the creation of a citizen player squad. The citizen AI used the squad to move with the player, engaging the same enemies and providing a basic interface for the player commands. We initially had a more complex command system, but it quickly became unwieldy, so we scaled it back.
Once we'd established the citizen player squad and started building scenarios around it, we found it created other interesting opportunities. Playtesters began to care about specific squad members, so we added more to their design. Squad members would pick up better weapons if they found them, pass the player ammo when needed, and medics would heal the player as necessary. We also had to ensure the squad could keep up with the player, who often took unpredictable paths. Off camera, the squad would cheat in various ways, regenerating health between fights, moving quickly to catch up, and even teleporting when necessary.
This corrugated metal panel was deliberately placed over the hull to encourage players to switch to the gravity gun and remove the obstruction. It's a bit of manipulation on our part because we found that training players on hopper mines worked much better if they immediately tried using a gravity gun on them, and the metal panel significantly increased the chance they'd have it ready. We placed multiple mines in the hull so players would have several opportunities to interact with them, increasing the chances they'd discover alternative ways of disposing of them. Furthermore, this is the first time we're doing training while the player has a whole squad of citizens with them, so we took advantage of that opportunity to include some
AI behaviors. One piece of AI technology we developed for Half-Life 2 was the behavior system. Behaviors were chunks of AI gameplay code that guided NPCs in specific situations. For example, we had a lead behavior that enabled an NPC to guide the player, and a follow behavior allowing an NPC to follow the player or another NPC. Behaviors worked alongside the NPC's base actions, so a medic squad mate using the follow behavior to keep up with the player would still know how to fire at enemies or dodge grenades or offer a med kit.
Get down!
Reload, Dr. Freeman. Sorry, Freeman.
Let's take a break. I'm getting sleepy. Thanks for watching.